Just wanted to apologize for not having been here last week. That was my intention to welcome Elaine back to our virtual center. It had been several months since we've had the pleasure of classes with Elaine. She's not new to our center. She's joined us last year, and so we're just kind of still in the beginning of a long association with her as a teacher for us. I hope. She's one of the founding members of Vajrapani, and really known for her meditative experience and all of her dedication to engaging in retreat. And so she's really able to speak from that place of sort of her own direct experience. And that's very valuable and very precious for us here. And so we're just grateful that you've continued to have an association with us. And so thank you very much for accepting another invitation to teach. And we hope again that for years and years that will continue. And as I mentioned, we hope to have you at the center maybe next year or, going forward. So thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. And I do also look forward to being face to face and in a gompa and practicing together and being able to have a dialogue to not just me talking, but really being able to share, one to one. It's nice to be able to do that. And it's difficult when we're teaching on Zoom. It's difficult to have that sort of feeling that you have a question, you raise your hand or put up that little hand. I remember when I first saw that one, you could put up a little hand and then your picture goes up in the upper left. At least that's what happens on my screen. So anyway, it's just odd. It's been 2 years and I've been teaching on Zoom, and I still think it's odd. I can't help it. I still think it's odd. So I'm trying to adapt, shall we say. So I think as we begin, how about if we just get started with a little meditation? And it's always useful to start. And I have this new meditation application that I'm in love with, that I downloaded. I see it says unstable. If I'm chunky, then I'll come back. I want to tell you about this meditation app. It's free and it's called Enso, ENSO. And I downloaded it. It's so simple. It has no bells and whistles. It doesn't go, tell you how many people around the world are meditating with you or give you options to have music or other classes, but just simple timer. And then it's ENSO, Enso. So I'm gonna use it, and we'll see how it goes. We'll practice for 10 minutes, and I've used it a bit myself, and I find it really very useful, and you can set infinite numbers of minutes, or you can set, up to an hour. If you're going to meditate for more than an hour, you're going to have to go back and start over again. But you can have interval bells, and you can have a bell at the beginning. So there will be a bell after, I think, 5 seconds that will send us right down into our cushion, right? So I invite you to please, take your meditation seat, settle in, and settle into relaxation. Yeah. Okay. So our foundation for meditation is our posture. allowing our spine to lengthen and straighten, allows the energy to flow. Having the body upright in a posture of dignity gives a sense of vigilance. And then allowing the body to relax around this center pole, softening, releasing, beginning at the crown. And simply, slowly and gently, floating down. Feel your brow soften, your eyes, around your mouth. Let your jaw relax. Notice how it feels when your face is completely relaxed. And into your neck, especially the back of your neck and across the tops of your shoulders. And then allow awareness to go down both of your arms. All the way to your fingertips as you feel your hands resting gently in your lap. And as you come back to go down your torso, notice your upper back around your shoulder blades. Sometimes it's helpful to lift your shoulders and let them fall. Utterly releasing. Down to the center of your back. All the way to your sit bones. Notice your chest and your belly soft. Breathing into the belly. And then floating down your legs. Past your knees. All the way to the soles of your feet and the tips of your toes. Let every cell of your body relax. Feel the places where your body touches the seat. Allowing your awareness to come right down to the ground. With a sense of stability and safety. And stillness. leaving behind the busyness of our day, welcoming this present moment. No need to think about plans for the future. Just now, as the body breathes naturally, without any force or impedance. Just the sensation of the breath in the body. Notice the belly rising and falling. And then fine-tuning the awareness. I invite you to bring it to the tip of the nose, the sensation right there as the breath flows out and back in again. Attending to the full cycle. Perhaps you will notice a pause at the end of the out breath. As the breath turns. Just the breath in this moment. So now take a moment to think about your motivation for being here. To think that since time without discoverable beginning, we have been born into samsara, having to experience all the many sufferings that samsara has to offer. But now we have something special. Difficult to receive, quite easily lost, and once obtained, most beneficial. This precious human life, with which all our temporal and ultimate wishes can be fulfilled. How wonderful, how fortunate. Allow your heart to rejoice in that. And think, if I don't use it now to reach my highest potential, then I'll have to experience all these many sufferings again and again and again. But not only that, I will have wasted this unbelievably precious opportunity to benefit not only myself, but all others. So please think now, in order to completely perfect my mind and help others do likewise, I will participate in this evening. So, last week, I described the 3 levels of faith. Maybe you remember. Faith is defined as complete trust or confidence in something or someone. That's what Webster says. Complete faith in something or someone. So the 3 levels that we talked about last week. The first is admiring faith, which arises from being inspired by a teacher or a teaching. But this faith isn't very strong. We can easily be swayed by a new teacher or a new teaching and follow that for a while. So this admiring faith needs to be cultivated. And we have then an aspiring faith or a verified faith, or His Holiness, the Dalai Lama calls it bright faith. This is where you strengthen your admiration and you develop a sense of emulation. You aspire to attain that state of being. And the third type is unshakable faith. It's the faith of conviction. This is where you develop a deep conviction that it's possible to perfect such a state of being for oneself. It's possible. I can and I will. So the important point is that the faith that we have in our spiritual practice must be grounded in reason and understanding. You know, this past Thursday, I attended a small gathering on Zoom. We were asked to turn our cameras off, actually. It was an anniversary celebration of the founding of Mind and Life Institute. And the founder was my good friend, Adam Engel, and he was being interviewed. And the Mind and Life Institute began as dialogues between His Holiness the Dalai Lama and esteemed Western scientists. His Holiness had a keen wish for science to become part of monastic education and has said that if science disproves Buddhism, then Buddhism must change. So far, science has corroborated Buddhist thought. So it is with reasoning and understanding, which are critical for a sustained, effective practice. In Varanasi, Shakyamuni Buddha told his disciples, I teach suffering and the end of suffering. This is how it looks to me. You must examine it, you must explore it, and you must investigate how your mind fabricates its experience of the world. See it clearly and free the heart from confusion about it. This is what Shakyamuni Buddha told his disciples. So, in other words, cultivate faith. Free yourself from doubt. So, it's a lack of faith is considered a mental affliction, which gives rise to laziness and disrespect, and it comes from ignorance. But we attend a talk, go to a retreat, we read a book. We are each one introduced to teachings in different ways. I try to imagine what it might have been like attending a teaching by the Buddha where he said, I teach suffering and the end of suffering. Suffering. I was first introduced to Tibetan Buddhism in 1976. I was young, believe it or not. It was a talk that was given in Santa Barbara by Thupten Pende, who was then a monk. And on the way home that evening, my husband asked my opinion. And I emphatically said, I most certainly don't want to dwell on death and suffering. I want to think about happiness, have a happy life, not a miserable one. And little did I know that about a year, I'd be living in a teepee in a redwood forest, helping build a Tibetan Buddhist meditation center. So what shifted? What shifted? It was my admiration and aspiration to become like Lama Yeshe. It was faith in the possibility. Buddha advised us to take a realistic look at life, to be realistic. He said, there is suffering. We have to recognize it. If we don't recognize it, then we don't have any wish to be free from it. No need to practice if we don't recognize suffering. Suffering has many different classes or categories. One very familiar one is the 3 categories. The suffering of suffering is the first one, suffering of suffering. We all know this one, a headache or mental and physical pain, which we certainly wish to avoid. The second one is the suffering of change. Generally, we're not attuned to the change that is happening in every moment. Subtle impermanence. We don't notice it because we're not looking. Our attention is alerted when there's a big unexpected change. Otherwise, we expect the status quo. We depend on that. We think when we get in our car and we turn the key, it's going to start. So then there's all pervasive compounded suffering. And this is most hidden. And this is the 5 aggregates, which we call me, act as a magnet for suffering. It's the ultimate selfie, the great I illusion. And this all-pervasive suffering arises from the failure to see our true nature. The end of suffering comes from seeing through the I illusion. The verses by His Holiness the 7th Dalai Lama, which we recited last week, called The Complete Path. There's a verse that states, the way people and things seem to be is a distortion created by deluded mind. If we look at the root of things, emptiness is clearly understood. And as Master Shantideva said, the mind that sees the emptiness of the mind is nirvana. Mind that sees the emptiness of the mind is nirvana, the end of suffering. As our understanding of suffering increases, so does our faith in the three jewels and our qualified guides. And we cultivate a wish to end suffering, not just our own, but the suffering of every being, by freeing our own mind, by actualizing our highest potential, motivated by a longing to lead others to freedom. And we make that a pole star for our life. So I would like to engage in another meditation, this one involving imagery. And this meditation comes from Kathleen Singh, who wrote many books, several books, Grace in Aging. Perhaps you're too young to think about the grace in aging. I read that for a book club with my very, very good friends, Dharma friends, who were founders of Vajrapani. And I loved that book. And she wrote several others, and one was Unbinding. And I believe that this meditation is in that book, Unbinding. And I think it's a really good example of the fix that we're in right now and how we might extricate ourselves. You may have done this meditation with me before because I have led it before. So please find your meditation seat again, if you will. And sit fully upright, relaxed, still, and vigilant. And make a strong determination to remain present, attending briefly to the breath as it flows naturally. And now I invite you to imagine sitting beside a clear mountain stream, flowing along peacefully. There is an uneven rock ledge that juts out a bit into the water, just enough to create a little waterfall. Some of this water is pushed toward the edge where the water circles, creating a little eddy in an indentation of the bank. The eddy circles around and around, remaining fixed in its position. It becomes backwater, while the water of the rest of the stream flows by. Turning inward, the eddy concentrates on the pattern of circling. Turning its attention away from the fresh and freely flowing stream, the eddy is defined by the circular pattern. It identifies with the circled boundary. It sees itself as something. it sees itself as separate from the freely flowing stream. Imagine the eddy checking its circular motion well and often, monitoring it carefully to circle well, to stay in the comfort of the familiar. It compares itself to neighboring eddies, judging and evaluating. It labels itself as separate, independent, and needing to be protective of its own circularity. It comes to cherish its own swirling, the dynamic that creates its tiny universe. See it there, cherishing the debris caught in the swirls of its muddy orbit. Its view becomes myopic. It forgets all about the ancient mountain which the stream flows down. It forgets the centuries of melting snows and summer rains that create the stream. It forgets the mass of tree roots and the rutted animal paths that determine the course of the stream as it flows down. It forgets all the immeasurable causes and conditions that give rise to its appearance. Not looking, ignoring, the eddy assumes itself according to its ignorance. It ignores that its patterning never for a moment holds the same water. It doesn't look and it doesn't see that in each new moment, new water is recruited. Holding itself as eddy only, an isolated phenomenon, it remains ignorant of the fact that nothing exists independently of the conditions giving rise to it, that all of life leads to each arising. Unaware, not looking, the eddy ignores its fragile impermanence. At any moment, a tree might fall, changing the course of the stream. The eddy would be gone in an instant, leaving no trace in the water, as if it were never there. Unaware, not looking, the eddy clings to the circled fabrication. It ignores its essential nature. It never realizes that its separation from the stream is only imagined. Beyond assumed identities and limitations, everything is interconnected. Our own fleeting appearance is an eddy in a temporarily stable pattern of continually changing elements. We sustain ourselves through constant definition. In the eddy's case, through its circularity. In our own case, through our equally circular inner dialogues, telling the same stories over and over and over again. We trap our awareness in events and define ourselves by them. Awareness is an endless continuum, a stream. Our clinging to an egoic self-sense keeps us in a limited point of reference on that endless continuum. When we release our attachment to who we have believed ourselves to be, we still exist as an individual manifestation of awakened awareness. A sense of our individual manifestation remains necessary, not just to survive, but to be an offering to others, an agency of kindness and compassion. This is our humanity. We're part of a greater whole rather than a small eddy circulating and collecting debris. Awakening is a growing illumination into clear spaciousness with the light of wisdom, which eliminates this fog of self-belief. Wisdom, clear seeing, breaks the spell of ignorance. Rest here, allowing your awareness to encompass limitless space. Allowing appearances to appear as nothing but the play of mind. Mind is like a clear sky. Empty, spacious, and pure from the beginning. Resting in momentary present awareness. resting evenly. Without feeding what arises, without rejecting or accepting anything. Thoughts arise, they abide, and they dissolve. They need energy to survive. If you find yourself being kidnapped, simply release and come back to rest evenly in present moment awareness. Kindly and gently. Just now. You see, there's nothing to do. Nothing to force, nothing to want, and nothing missing. All right. Let's come back into the room. Do you have a question or a comment? Not that you must. How did you find that eddy meditation? What did you think of that? I remember reading it the first time and I thought, wow, yeah, it is like that, isn't it? It is just like that. We collect, we have our eddy and all of our things in it, all of our debris, protecting it. checking to see how your Eddie is doing out there, how that person's Eddie is doing. Oh, their Eddie is bigger than mine. Do I need more space? You see, anyway, it's very appropriate to kind of see how it is that we're trapped in this circularity, and how we tell the same stories over and over and over again. To be able to look at that, how it is that we are trapped by the stories that we tell ourselves. I have a good friend who was a songwriter. I used to play in a band with him. And the song was called The Things That You Tell Yourself. And the refrain was, the things that you tell yourself are true. This is what we believe in, the things that we tell ourselves. So it's to question reality. Maybe you've seen the bumper sticker, question reality. Back in the day, there were a lot of those question reality stickers. And I thought, that's so Buddhist, isn't it? Question reality. The Lamas have said more than once that just to have doubt about appearances, to question reality, rips a hole in the fabric of samsara. Just to step back and say, is that true? Because thinking that it's true, grasping onto the truth of whatever it is that's arising in our mind, grasping onto that keeps us trapped in that. It's to think about, to cogitate, to analyze, as Shakyamuni Buddha said, explore it, examine it, investigate it, until we have no doubt, until we have complete faith. So I thought we would do some Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga, yeah? And maybe, Shayla, could you put it in the chat so people could have it? Thank you. If you need to have a little stretch, that's okay too. We could take maybe 5 minutes and have a friend of mine calls it personal care break. When we engage in Guru Yoga, if we're actually able to bring our teacher before us in the aspect of Lama Tsongkhapa, we start by bringing them in the aspect of Shakyamuni Buddha, who then dissolves into us, and then we invoke Lama Tsongkhapa. If we're able to think about them as manifestations of our own Lama, our own heart teacher, we begin to be closer. So you imagine your teacher manifesting as this holy being in front of you. And then really, as you go through the 7 limbs of practice, prostrating and offering and confessing, rejoicing, all of these, you're thinking about that. You're looking at them with this heart of gladness that they're in your life. And this brings us closer to them. So when we ask for blessings, we ask for them to bless us. There was one Lama who said, when your eyes fill with tears and your body shivers from gazing into the eyes of your Lama, then ask for blessings. The point is to really cultivate this great attitude of devotion that comes from practice. the reason why we're devoted, the reason why we have great faith in them is because we've practiced and we see the truth of what they say. We know the truth of that. And when we know the truth of that, then we have such gratitude because it does, in fact, destroy the causes of suffering. We will completely, eventually, be completely free of suffering through the power of practice, which comes from the kindness of our Lama. Because they have done the work, they share in an unbroken lineage all the way back to Shakyamuni Buddha. It's quite astounding, really, when you think about it. And you see, it's also a double-edged sword, because once you know, then you really must practice, because it's up to you to keep the lineage going. You have to gain the realizations. You have to teach each one of you. You must, because it's so precious. It's so priceless. It's so unbelievably, it's better than gold. So here we go. Let's find Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga here. So first, do you have I'm not sure, I have different versions of this in my computer. Does Shakyamuni Buddha appear as the first? Okay, all right, very good. Yeah, all right. So then, just thinking, we really do wish to be free, and we wish to be free so we can free others. So we call our Lama to come, and we call them to come, and they come as Shakyamuni Buddha, all right? This particular verse comes from Chakrasamvara Tantra, and it was put to music by my good friend Rob Priest. And I quite love it because I think it says everything. Om, please come, great hero, the teacher of pure words, creation, destruction, self-arisen, the wisdom of emptiness, and that of love. So now we imagine before us our Lama in the aspect of Shakyamuni Buddha. We also surround ourselves by all the sentient beings that we wish to free. And we lead them in the practice of refuge. I go for refuge until enlightenment to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. By my virtuous actions of giving and so on, may I become a Buddha to benefit all beings. I go for refuge until enlightenment to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. By my virtuous actions of giving and so on, may I become a Buddha to benefit all beings. I go for refuge until enlightenment to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. By my virtuous actions of giving and so on, may I become a Buddha to benefit all beings. May all beings have equanimity, free of attachment and aversion. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. May all beings find good rebirths and the bliss of liberation. I will help us to have these. Please, Guru Buddha, bless me to be able to do this. And then we purify the place and bless the offerings. May the ground everywhere be pure, free of roughness and all flaws, soft as the palm of a child's hand, smooth as polished blue sapphire. May all space with Samantabhadras, clouds of offerings be filled, offerings human and divine, both actual and imagined. So now as we recite the offering cloud mantra, then think that all of space is filled with these amazing offerings. Om Namo Bhagavate Vajrasara Parmadana Tathagataya Arhate Samyaksam Buddhaya Tayata Om Vajre Vajre Mahavajre Mahateja Vajre Mahavidya Vajre Mahabodhicitta Vajre Mahabodhi Mando Pasam Kramana Vajre Sarva Karma Avarana Vishodhana Vajre Soha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vajrasarva Parmadana Tathagataya Arhate Samyaksam Buddhaya Tayata Om Vajre Vajre Mahavajre Mahateja Vajre Mahavidya Vajre Mahabodhicitta Vajre Mahabodhi Mando Pasam Kramana Vajre Sarva Karma Avarana Vishodhana Vajre Soha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vajrasara Pramadana Tathagataya Arhate Samyaksam Buddhaya Tayata Om Vajre Vajre Mahavajre Mahateja Vajre Mahavidya Vajre Mahabodhicitta Vajre Mahabodhi Mando Pasam Kramana Vajre Sarva Karma Avarana Vishodhana Vajre Soha. All of space filled with these amazing offerings. And we invoke Lama Tsongkhapa. You emanate on snow white clouds from the heart of Buddha Maitreya, Savior of 100 devas, joyful realm Losang Dragpa, all-knowing King of Dharma. With your 2 heart disciples, I beseech you, please come before me. In space on lion throne, lotus and moon, my kind guru, smiling with delight, is the supreme field for my faithful mind. Please forever abide and teach us. Your holy mind knows all phenomena, your fluent speech a sweet melody. For the ears of fortunate beings, your form resplendent with fame's glory. I prostrate to you who is meaningful to see, hear, and also bring to mind. So now imagine yourself actually prostrating at the feet of your guru as Lama Tsongkhapa. And then making offerings. Pure water and well-arranged flowers, fragrant incense, lights, perfume, and more. Clouds of offerings, real and imagined, I offer you, supreme merit field. You can imagine sending out offering goddesses from your heart to go out and make these offerings to Lama Tsongkhapa and his 2 heart disciples. And we see our Lama being pleased, receiving these gifts. And we take a moment to think about the aspects of our speech, our thoughts, those actions that we have done with body, speech, and mind. Perhaps some habits that we have that we'd like to be free of. Some mistakes we have made. And then we confess. Non-virtues of body, speech, and mind, transgressions of my 3 sets of vows, committed since beginningless time, all I confess deeply from my heart. And then rejoicing. In these times of degeneration, you made your life highly meaningful, renounced all the 8 worldly concerns, strove for knowledge and realizations. In your extensive accomplishments, I rejoice deeply within my heart. And then gazing into the eyes of our Lama, beseeching. Lama in Dharmakaya's clear sky, from clouds of wisdom and compassion, please rain down vast and profound Dharma upon us fortunate disciples. And just as we often give in order to receive, we offer a mandala, everything in the universe. Oh, this ground scented with perfume perfume and covered with flowers, adorned by Mount Meru, 4 worlds, sun and moon, I imagine as a Buddha land, and then offer it. May all beings enjoy this pure land. I send forth this jeweled mandala to you, my precious Guru. So now, as a result of our practice, white lights flow from the hearts of Lama Tsongkhapa and his 2 disciples. And they merge into one, and they enter through the top of my head, washing away all sicknesses, all interferences, all defilements, all negative karma, all mistakes, all failures in training. My body becomes totally filled with blissful light. So we'll chant in English once and in Tibetan twice. This is a prayer that Lama Tsongkhapa actually wrote to his teacher, Lama Rendawa. And his teacher then turned around and said, this is a prayer to you. Chenre is a great treasure of objectless compassion. Manju Shri Lord of stainless wisdom, Vajrapani destroyer of Mara's armies, Tsongkhapa crown, jewel of Tibetan sages, Losang Dragpa, to you I Meet se wei che chen chen raisi, dream can pei wang po jang du pu alu chom ze sang wei gang chen ke pe su gen song ka lo sang dra pe shabla so Mig me tse wei te chen chen wei zi, dream can pei wang po jang du pu ma lu Jom ze tsang wei nang chen ke pe tsu gen song ka lo sang drag pe jabla so de. So now allow your whole body to be filled with this purifying white light. All stains purified. And then we ask for Lama Tsongkhapa's blessing. Oh, magnificent and precious root guru, please abide on the lotus and moon seat above my head. Guide me with your great kindness and grant me realizations of your holy body, speech, and mind. So now imagine that the two heart disciples dissolve into Lama Tsongkhapa. His holy body is made of light. And he comes to the crown of our head. And as we recite Om Ah Hum, think that with the Om, white light flows down from the Om at Lama Tsongkhapa's forehead. And it comes down to our forehead, completely purifying our body. And then as we recite Ah, red light flows down from the Ah at Lama Tsongkhapa's throat, entering into our throat, purifying speech. And as we recite Hum, blue light flows down from the Hum at Lama Tsongkhapa's heart, coming down through the center of my body, coming to rest at my own heart, purifying my mind. And then they flow all together. And even the most subtle obscurations are being purified. So we take a deep breath. Om. Ah. Om. Om. And then Lama Tsongkhapa will dissolve into you, getting smaller and smaller as we make this request. Oh, magnificent and precious root guru, please abide on the lotus and moon seat at my heart. Guide me with your great kindness and stay with me always until I achieve enlightenment. Then imagining there above your crown, Lama Tsongkhapa, smaller and smaller, becoming thumb-sized, entering through your crown, and gradually descending down through the center of your body, coming to rest at the level of your heart. Manifesting there as the light of love, and let it fill your whole body. The wisdom, compassion, love, and joy of the enlightened mind. Rest there in that. Then let's recite together the complete path composed by His Holiness the Seventh Dalai Lama to put imprints of the three principal aspects of the path: definite emergence or renunciation, bodhicitta, and wisdom. Whatever you want for yourself and others with a human form is easily attained. Disengage yourself from meaningless efforts. Strive to accomplish the highest goals. Because all things composite are impermanent, life changes and never abides. That change is the basis of suffering. For the samsaric mind fills with frustration on watching its creations continually fade. The higher you climb in samsara, the higher the cliff on which you perch. The more things you own, the tighter you are bound. The dearer you hold someone, the greater the chance they'll hurt you. The faster you subdue enemies, the faster their numbers increase. This body is a thing borrowed for a moment, and possessions are things stored for others. Now we dally with them, but quickly are they lost and misused, and only are sources of misery. Therefore, no worldly possession is worth the effort of gaining. Turn your back on that which only handicaps. An unburdened mind is joy supreme. The pinnacle of aims is to follow this path. Body, speech, and mind kept stainless with pure self-discipline. Mind held in samadhi, blissful and clear. And wisdom seeing all realities of every situation. The mother beings wandering in the six realms, to me, their child, are pieces of my heart. For many times have they soothed my troubles, and in infinite ways have they brought me joy. These infinite beings so kind are covered by the fog of ignorance. Constantly lashed by whips of delusions, they have no chance to lay down the burden of misery from their minds. Therefore, whenever you meet anyone, greet them with eyes smiling with love. Why mention that you shouldn't even consider holding evil intentions or deceptive thoughts? The way people and things seem to be, other than projected labels, is a distortion created by deluded mind. If we look at the root of things, emptiness is clearly understood. And in the vast space of the perception of emptiness, mental grasping for ultimate subsides. Then one looks into the face of the world, everything is seen without essence. Understanding interdependence, we understand emptiness. Understanding emptiness, we understand interdependence. This is the view which is the middle, and which is beyond the terrifying cliffs of eternalism, nihilism, neither or both. And let's take this positive energy that we have created here today and dedicate it like Master Shantideva. May all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, find an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merit. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms, the deaf hear sounds. May those whose wadis are born with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, there too may I remain to dispel the misery of the world. By merit of this virtue, may I become Buddha and lead all beings, everyone, into that enlightened state. May the precious Bodhi mind not yet born arise and grow, and may that born not decline, but increase more and more. And long life prayers, dedicating this energy that our lamas have a long and fruitful life. In the snowy mountain paradise, you're the source of all happiness and good. Powerful Tenzin Gyatso Chenrezig, Zig, please remain until samsara ends. Savior of the snowlands, teachings and beings, You clarify the path that unifies emptiness and compassion. Lotus holder Tenzin Gyatso, may all your wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Great upholder of the moral way, bountiful bearer of everything good, accomplishing beautiful prayers, honoring the three precious jewels, sustaining and spreading Buddha's words, Kyabje Zopa Rinpoche, our precious Lama, please live long. Venerable One, to whose kindness exceeds that of all the conquerors for those wandering in far-off places, especially the West, mindful of your loving compassion for us in intentionally descending again into a family of a far distant land, we make this request. O Lama, please, please live long. Tenzin Osalhita. And Geshe Sharap, beloved teacher, leading your students toward wisdom and compassion, explaining through exacting discernment the steps of the graduated path. You are the unequal guide. Please live a long and stable life. And also, let's please dedicate to all of those on our prayer list, those who have passed away. May they have fortunate rebirths. Those who are ill, may they return to good health. And those for whom we have special requests, think about them now and dedicate to their welfare. And lastly, but certainly not leastly, to dedicate to peace on this planet. That the suffering of war may end. And that all countries might be governed by enlightened politics, thinking to benefit one another. May it be so. Quicker than quick. Okay. Thank you all.